Hello there. Good afternoon, evening, morning, whatever you are. Hello. Hello to my sister, if you see this. Hello to my new married son. Hello, everybody out there. Glad to be back. Glad to say hello. I'm sure you all missed me so much. I got all your comments chasing me around. I saw a bunch of private investigators chasing me. So I appreciate being back. And I welcome again Mr. StreamYard, Barbara, Hobbs, as I move over, Brian Main, Renee Lee. Just Change, Geeter Boy, uh, Korean Yoon. I don't know why I have such a tough time with that one. Core Any Yoon. Hawkeye, Robert, D, Susan, Matthew, Lockup. Thank you, everybody out there. Hope everybody's well. Not legal advice, of course, just here today to talk about stuff that's happened in the last couple of weeks. I said that I think a report was coming out today. It has not yet come out, but I think it will be coming out still today. At least that's my information to this point in time. I just think it'll come out late. So what I'm going to do is if the report comes out late, probably tomorrow or Sunday, I'll do another live where I'll go over the report itself. But I have not seen the report. I don't think it's been submitted yet, so I can't comment on it. But my understanding, it is coming out. And I think today is a date. It's the end of the month, and there may be other reasons why it's being held to the end of the month. So I expect to see it, and I'll comment on it over the weekend. I kind of also said that when I originally said I'd come on, I said there might be some additional filings, and I was correct. There were. So that's what we're going to talk about is the filings themselves, and we'll go into that. I also said I was going to talk about my kid's wedding. I'll talk about a little bit about that. I know you guys have missed all these fantastic, amazing jokes. So I'll give you a few of those because I know you missed them. And that's it. I'll try to do it quickly or reasonably quickly. So I went to my son's wedding. It was back east. It was fantastic. My in-laws were treated us better than blood. Where the wedding itself was, the backdrop was just amazing. It was literally the landscape of New York City was the backdrop. Looked like a photograph. It was amazing. There was I think it was an 11-piece band. Anyway, it was a great time. The couple was wonderful. Of course, I'm not objective, but it was a wonderful event. I'm sorry you all couldn't have been there. I was wondering why nobody showed up. I sent out all the invitations, but none of you showed up. I took it. It did hurt me a little bit, but I'll get over it. But anyway, it was a wonderful event. I'm really happy. That was my third kid. They're all married to really nice mates. So I'm a happy camper and I'm glad and really enjoyed it, as all you should. If you go to your kids' weddings, just like I told my kid, as somebody told me, God, you got to enjoy your own wedding. You got to enjoy your kids' weddings. It doesn't happen that often, hopefully. And anyway, side issue. So I had a great time while I was gone, and props to kind of as a side issue. So I've had more communication with Dylan since over the past couple months, and I think our communication is better. So he still may not, feel me as an 100% ally as he should, but I don't think he feels the distrust or misgivings just based upon the communication. I think that's all positive. It makes me feel better that I'm getting more accurate information. Also makes me feel better that I can kind of relay that information to you. Before I get started and tell you kind of some of the stuff that's going on and what we can anticipate, and I think the last time I told you there was Markowitz deposition that had been noticed. Has not occurred yet. I don't know if it will be going forward on the date indicated, but that was the last thing. I think Justine Reichman had opposed the share, bring me back my shares, claiming that there was no jurisdiction because she's not in Nevada, amongst other things. And Oliphant and Markowitz had submitted something objecting to it. There wasn't a request then for deposition dates, and that was the last go round that we had. Before I get into that, of course, I really can't stand, those famous Russian dolls. I just can't stand those Russian dolls. They're so full of themselves. Give it a little thought. What do you say to a llama that loves picnicking? Alpaca lunch. A photon checks into a hotel. The front desk asks if he has any luggage. The photon replies, "No, I'm traveling light." And last but not least, I was swimming off the Southern California shore yesterday near Malibu when I bumped into a dolphin. Shockingly, this dolphin got really pissed off at me until I told him I didn't really do it on purpose. Anyway, so glad to be back. I know you missed those. I really do. I really do. That last one was a pure original of mine. So thank you very much. Intentionally provided. So what has occurred? What kind of filings have occurred since the last time we spoke? And excluding the receiver's report that I think I'm going to see tonight, maybe. First of all, I think I told you that there was a deposition subpoena or post Frank Benintendo's deposition. There was a document request that was submitted. He has responded to that document request by a formal response. He also has submitted documents in response to the document request. That includes various texts and intercommunications, notes, whatever. I have not looked at them yet because I didn't want to do it before I did this. To the extent I have access to those kind of documents, they're subject to a protective order. So until the case is over, or if they're not guided by that, I'm not going to be able to specifically talk about documents that are subject to a protective order. Again, that's why I didn't look at them at this point in time. But he's made a large production of documents. So I'm guessing that within that large production of documents, there may be very incriminating documents or documents that may not be beneficial to various parties. And so it's going to be interesting to see what's contained within there. But he did respond. So he's appeared for deposition and responded to a document request. And I know that the Receivers Council has a bunch of documents besides that. So it'll be interesting. What else happened was non-party, and that was the same thing as Justin Reichman. It looks like these parties kind of talk together and they follow the same story. But non-party, and if you remember, at one point in time, I think I did a live stream and it was like 85 different entities or people that the receiver claimed these were disputed shares. And one of these parties was the Hans and Rosie, R-O-S-Y. Is that correct pronunciation? Excuse me. Is that the correct spelling of Rosie? Put it in the chat. Have you ever seen Rosie spelled R-O-Z-Y? R-O-S-Y, excuse me. R-O-Z-Y, I'm sure you haven't seen. But R-O-S-Y, come on. Let's if it's the full name, let's use the full spelling. So it's the Hans and Rosie Epstein Memorial Committee's objection. And they basically, so this is an objection to the receiver's disputed share designation and saying you shouldn't be coming after us. It basically follows the same format as the prior objections, which led me to believe there had been some communications amongst these parties, which kind of supports the original accusation that maybe somebody at GTII is really controlling all these parties. Perhaps somebody might consider that. So they basically allege that there's no jurisdiction because they're not a party to the claim. So again, jurisdiction means the power of the court to make a determination over somebody. There's two types of jurisdiction, and I'm going to charge all of you for this right now. So there's two kinds of jurisdiction. There's personal jurisdiction, which means that you're within the jurisdiction, the physical jurisdiction of the court. so that the court has power to exercise control over you. And then there's something called subject matter jurisdiction. That means the matter, that particular matter, the court has to have both. That it's got to be the right type of case involving the right claims against you. And I'm not arguing here about the technical correctness of the claims themselves, but it has to be only certain claims. And they also have to have physical jurisdiction over you. So in these cases, and I'm sure we're going to see a bunch of these, they're claiming they're not a party, so they haven't been named to the lawsuit. So the court has no jurisdiction over them. Some of them are claiming not even in state, and there's no personal jurisdiction. So those are the claims. I think those are kind of probably loser claims, since they got notice. And I don't know why, if they got notice about these months ago, why didn't they object to jurisdiction way back in there on an immediate basis? Why did they wait to do it after the fact, other than they probably hadn't figured it out, or hadn't figured out a purported defense? But that's going to be the common thing. There are also other argument is, if you're going to try to come after our property, then you got to file a separate action. Maybe, but not as to the shares that are subject to the court's power. And part of my allegation against Justine was that not that they had exclusive, could only do it in California, but I thought the place that provided the least questions was California, because the property's in California, not just the shares, but the real estate is in California. I'm hoping the Receivers Council is still considering going after Justine Reichman's real property in California. I don't know what their position is, not something they've told me about. I've certainly told them many times that that's what I think they should do. And again, I don't really trust her. I don't trust her father. I'm not even sure. My feeling is more than a feeling, if you like Boston, was that there were ongoing negotiations between the receiver and David Reichman with regard to the disputed shares and everything. But I haven't heard anything further. I don't know if those negotiations will result in some fruit resolution, etc. I was very skeptical. And the fact that Justine kind of blew him off in a way, at least that's my impression, and my opinions, leads me to believe that David might do the same thing. But, never know, and we hope for the best. But that's kind of my concern. That's why I always wanted to push from the start. Now, and sue Justine, etc. Now, the Receivers Council didn't do that for whatever reason. They may have had a justifiable reason. But now it appears they're changing their tack, and they're following kind of the path that I would have fallen from the start. I think they're starting to kind of go after people aggressively to put them on the spot. Now, a lot of these people may have engaged, I don't know, by the way. So I haven't made a determination. I'm not a criminal. Have I ever done a criminal case? Yes, I've done a criminal case. Have I ever handled a criminal trial? Yes, I did actually. Handled a few of them. One involved my client was accused of illegal gambling at a casino in Southern California, playing Pai Gow poker along with two other guys. And I was representing one of them in a trial. But the question will be, all these people like Markowitz, because you'll hear their deposition notices are going forward too. But all these people, I think, should have concerns about whether their activities go beyond just civil liability, but maybe somebody could argue they might be considered to be violations of statutes that might not provide them the freedom that they would like in the future. So I'm expecting at some point in time somebody to take the fifth. I always expected David Reichman to be the one to take the fifth, because I can't imagine he'd risk going to prison based upon the allegations of the receiver. If the receiver's allegations are true, then that's a big risk, in my opinion. So I've been waiting for somebody to take the fifth and then see what happens spun out of that. Because you could give somebody immunity to the fifth, and then they would have to disclose the information because they wouldn't have any risk. So I'm waiting for somebody to take the fifth. Of course, I've been inviting anybody to flip and join in and whatever. So there's that. Then there's a deposition. I saw reference to a Philippe Fair, who apparently is related to some of these agencies. one of the things that struck me is in this opposition, the very last paragraph, there's a declaration. I mean, a really short declaration. So when you file oppositions or motions, you have to have a factual basis for filing it. And usually what you do is you have somebody declare that certain things are true, like documents are true or facts are true. So they did it in their objection. So they had a declaration from Philip Fair, which I think is the CEO, I believe, of the Rosie, ROSY, and Hans Epstein Memorial Committee. And he submitted a declaration, 2 pages. I'm being generous. It's actually a page and a paragraph. But I noticed that when it came to, and a declaration is under penalty of perjury and stating that under personal knowledge, I know these facts to be true. When you don't know the facts to be true, then you kind of don't do it under personal knowledge. And then it also has limited value because you're not saying you know to the same degree. So I was noticing this. I kind of took a look at it this morning briefly, and I go to paragraph 8 and I thinking about it. So how assured is this? And I'll stop as I read. I'm informed. I'm informed. That means somebody told me. That means I didn't know. I'm informed of the allegation. Allegation is not a fact. It's somebody a claim that these shares are somehow a quote golden parachute close quote for David Reichman. I don't know what a golden parachute is. I think the allegation is all there that these were acquired without consideration. They're not legitimate. They shouldn't have been issued. There were shenanigans going on. I don't know about these specific, but I think in general that's the allegation. So the golden parachute part, I don't know, but I think the allegation is that David Reichman controlled a lot of these entities and people. That's the idea. And this paragraph is not going to dispel that illusion. So I'm informed of the allegation that these shares are somehow a golden parachute. I thought he was going to say golden shower, by the way, for David Reichman, but this is golden parachute. I'm not aware of any information demonstrating this. So he says it. So I'm not aware of any information demonstrating this is the case. Doesn't say, again, kind of being a little bit coy. He doesn't say that's not true. He just says, I don't have information and that I don't have personal information that it's a golden parachute. He's not denying it's a golden parachute. He doesn't have the information. He then goes on to say that Mr. Reichman has not served on the board of directors or in any role. Is that it? No. Since 2017. Is that true? I don't know. It certainly means he was up to a point. Certainly means he had a very involved position at some point in time. It doesn't say doesn't have influence. It doesn't say that he doesn't have contact with this gentleman, Philip Fair, the current CEO. I am informed and believe. That means, again, he doesn't know. So he's giving a declaration under penalty of perjury, but doesn't know anything about David Reichman or GTII by this statement. I'm informed and believe that the disputed shares in GTII are not accessible by Mr. Reichman. He doesn't know that, but he's informed. So who would inform him of that? Would that be David Reichman? So maybe David Reichman would tell this gentleman, I don't have access to those shares. In fact, one thing I would like to see that's not in here is how about like a paragraph that says, I last spoke to David Reichman or had any communication with him on X date. Do you not speak to him anymore? If you do, and he's not on the board of directors, why are you speaking to him? What did you talk to him about? Why did he call you? Did you call him? If you called him, why did you call him? I guess in your deposition, there'll be a lot of these questions. You probably should be prepared and make sure that you know you're under penalty of perjury when you testify. So be really careful when you testify. Just a cautionary tale. This is one paragraph, by the way. One paragraph in a one-page, what I would call BS declaration. That if I wanted to, I probably could spend a half hour questioning them on the stupid one paragraph. So be aware. I'm sure Dylan will do an equally, if not better job at questioning anybody involved. And that's why anybody involved should be concerned about testifying falsely And that's why anybody who's going to testify should be concerned and should consider taking the fifth. I mean, I really do. I said it before the last deposition when Frank Benintendo testified. I just, man, and I don't know, I don't represent any of these guys, but if I were representing any of these guys and they told me the full story, I wouldn't let them testify. Come on. Jeez. I think that's reckless. My opinion, just my opinion. Anyway, so this Philip Fair, who's going to be deposed, who apparently is on the board of directors in charge of the Rosy, ROSY, and Hans Epstein Memorial Committee, he doesn't know squat based upon paragraph 8, or else he would have said so. So they're asserting the same kind of BS objection. So Fair is going to be deposed. We got the Benintendo documents, which I will go through, by the way. The the receiver's report, I expect tonight, and we'll talk about it. There's also a deposition subpoena that went out to specifically the Hans and Rosie, ROSY, Epstein Memorial Committee. And that deposition is set for November 24th. There's also a deposition subpoena that went out to a Michael Brook. And I think he might be related to the same charity, or he's counsel. There's a bunch of these that are either prior attorneys or counsel. So there's deposition of Michael Brook at 9 a.m. on November 24th. And some of these may have had already produced documents. Some of them may not. On December 9th, there's a deposition, and I look forward to this. Really, I think this will be one that's going to be fun or interesting or entertaining. And this is one, again, when I said that I'm shocked that nobody is going to take the fifth, when it comes to the attorneys, man, and the attorneys, remember Markowitz? Remember that story? I think the receiver said there was some transaction and they got $2 million and they circulated it, and Markowitz got paid a part of it and Reichman got paid the bigger part of it. I doubt that. And again, that's what I heard, and that's what the receiver said. And I don't know if any of those guys paid tax on any of these things. So, if you make a bunch of money and you don't declare it and you don't pay tax on it, the IRS doesn't look fondly on that. In fact, I've heard some people talk that if you don't report the tax and you kind of hide it, that could be even a felony. So, guys who might have made a bunch of money and didn't declare it and didn't pay tax, are they going to testify under penalty of perjury and risk going to prison? Wow, seems pretty risky. That's notwithstanding the fact that, and I remember the receiver put out something and I read it. It was a response to Oliphant and some of those emails. And I think the receiver, if I recall, accused Markowitz of securities issues. That was the receiver's interpretation. I don't know what specifically he was talking about, but again, with that and with Oliphant, remember there was a conflict of interest because Oliphant represented GTII, and now he was suing, or he was disputing the shares that are apparently bad, bogus shares, and then he worked with Markowitz, and they both signed off on the release of the other shares, which sounds kind of like dirty and certainly not kosher. And, whether that's unlawful, inappropriate, illegal, I don't know, but it certainly looks sketchy. It makes you it's cringe. We used to say that it was cringy, but I guess they use cringe now. So definitely cringe. Scott Oliphant, and he's the guy who was prior counsel. Remember, he didn't have any, or he couldn't produce some records, but he said he did some work. I think he said he got like 12,500 shares, but apparently it showed 125,000 shares, at least the receiver said. He apparently has a conflict representing Markowitz against GTII, even though having represented GTI. Well, his deposition is December 8th, 2025 at 9 a.m. And all these depositions, to the extent I can attend, I will attend either in person or via Zoom, and I'll report on them as we go. Another person whose deposition is set, I've heard the name, I just don't know what they do or what their position is. And They're based in Utah. And I noticed there was a bunch of people based in Utah. I don't know if all these people know each other, but this person's name, and I'm going to spell it because I'm going to blow it if I don't spell it. Tsuimei, last name Wang. I don't know who that is. But that's occurring December 11th at 1 p.m. And again, all these are set. I think all of them are set in Nevada currently. Additional deposition of Eric A. Mosteller, also in Utah, from Utah. That's December 11th at 9 a.m. Also at the plaintiff's office. And then we have, and I think he's another attorney, December 10th, 2025, also based in Utah, ironically, Todd D. Chisholm, and his depositions going forward. And I think all these depositions, and that's what's gone on so far. There may be additional ones that are going out. Again, the report will be going out. I also believe tonight. I believe. I could be wrong, but that's really my gut feeling. So we have the objection. We have receipt of documents from Benintendo. We have about half a dozen or 8 deposition notices of various people that claim that have disputed shares. And also, I think who have, and I don't think these people understand the risk. I think they're somebody, and again, this is my opinion. I don't think somebody is properly explaining risk to these people. And I can imagine if any one of these people end up in prison, that there could be a malpractice case too. Just my opinion. And again, that's just based upon what the receiver says. I certainly wouldn't risk it. I don't know why they would. I mean, unless the clients are ignoring the advice of their counsel, that's the first thing you tell them. Don't testify. Don't commit perjury. It's a civil case. Worst case is you get a civil liability. Big deal. If you lie under penalty of perjury, and you got a bunch, how many shareholders are going to be sympathetic to somebody who's trying to screw them after being screwed? Not a lot. So if there's any prosecutors kind of contemplate taking action against somebody who's accused of lying during their testimony, I think they're going to get a lot of support. The TA is going to get a lot of support to prosecute. So anyway, but I can't imagine, people are dumb. People are blind. They might have all kinds of pressure. They might have things that are being held up against them. I don't know what, if and what, because I don't know if and what Reichman might be holding over the head of all these people. I don't know what other things these people may have received. Has there been some kind of transaction? Was a bartered exchange? Did all these people pay taxes? I mean, to me, taxes is like the number one thing. I don't believe, just guessing, that all these people have taken responsibility for anything they received and paid taxes on it. I could be wrong. I just don't see it. The way the business was conducted and based upon the allegations of the receiver, I would be surprised. But again, I don't know. We haven't seen the audit. I'm hoping, by the way, that in the receiver's report that the audit is either a mention as being done or we get it's being completed and will be released during the fourth quarter. I have no further information about the audit, but I believe we're near the end just based upon what I hear. So I expect that to be done. So we kind of went through the objection of Rosie, ROSY. We talked about Benintendo's response that I will review. I won't be able to share the documents per se, but it'll have value. That's all I will say. Then we went through all the deposition notices. I talked about my rapport with Dylan, and I said I expect to attend all the depositions to the extent I can. I expect the receiver's report to be out tonight, perhaps, or this weekend, and I will do another live stream to go over the receiver's report. It'll probably, if they didn't take my cue to make it 5 pages, it'll take a little while to consume, but I promise to do something this weekend if it comes out this weekend. And that is about it. I just wanted to leave you with a couple other things as we go out the door. Did you hear about the glass blower who accidentally inhaled? He got stomach pain. Why couldn't the pony sing in the choir? Because he was a little hoarse. And last but not least, did you hear about the woman who loved making archery supplies? Every day she went to work, she quivered with joy. One more to go. Just one more out the door, since I wasn't around last week. Why did the hipster burn his mouth on pizza? Because he ate it before it was cool. To all you out there that hung out for all those, I appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out. Nice to be back. Hope that's provided you some updated information. Again, if the receiver's report comes out tonight or this weekend, I will go over it and report on it in much detail. And I will leave it there. We will talk soon. Thanks for following. Be well. Take care. Have a great night. And that's all. I mean, what else am I going to tell you? I'm babbling for 30 minutes.